It's time again for another episode of Real True Facts. My name is Willow Rosenberg.
And I am George Wendt. Not that one.
Not that one. On today's show, we're talking all about secrets, so hide your diaries.
I hid my diary before we started. I don't know why, but I had a feeling you might say something like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to be all cute with it, because today's show is actually kind of tense. It's sort of like a tense and almost violent subject.
I love secret societies. I'm just gonna say I like all of them and everything they possibly represent.
Okay, so we'll have a good spectrum here, because I'm terrified of secret societies, but if you love them, then we'll
I think they're necessary for the advancement of society. I mean, all great civilizations are really based and built upon secrets and then secret societies. So I think they're necessary.
Okay, cool. I think they're scary and we shouldn't have them anymore. So this will be fun. We tried to find somebody to talk to about secret societies. We have guests, as you know, but I have found that people in secret societies are very reluctant to do that. So it's really wonderful that this week we really need to look no further than George and myself, our co-hosts, and our sexy science bad boy, Dr. Seymour. We'll bring him in and we'll have like a fun little debate on secret societies.
Well, as it turns out, when they start talking about them and divulge everything, it's no longer a secret society.
That's true.
So that's one of those unfortunate, one of those gotchas. Those gotchas when it comes to secret societies.
Yeah, I think they hide their activities, but they maintain a public presence. So even though we don't know what they do, we still know that they exist, and it's almost like a game to find out how to get into one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about some of the more known secret societies and some of the lesser known secret societies, and get into the why. But before that,
and now it's time for the
UFO Report.
So this week, there's been some big news. It's been on all the big outlets that report UFO news.
So all of them, every single news outlet.
Yeah, not only the UFO outlets, but the big difference is this time it's hit the mainstream, the CNNs. And I don't know if you're familiar with CNN, but I've heard that they are a popular, well-known news source.
And it stands for like Cool News Network, or
it's central.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, Central Network and news type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing is everyone's heard of CNN. Everyone likes CNN.
It's like Facebook, but for television.
For news, yeah. Well,
for news.
Facebook is the Facebook of news.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read it on Facebook, it's probably true.
Yeah, that's like the main one.
We should, maybe at some point we'll just go on Facebook and get all of our information there.
We should.
But this comes out of CNN Washington.
Ooh.
and the
State
Pentagon.
Or DC? Oh, DC. Okay.
Yeah, and so not just Washington, but a building there that has multiple sides. And so the Pentagon released some videos, and they're saying that they're unidentified and they're objects and they're flying. So I don't know what other explanation there is for this.
Well, did you watch the video?
Not necessarily, not in the traditional viewing of the moving images.
Not visually.
Right, not necessarily, but I did notice that it existed.
Emotionally.
Yeah, you know me. I just kind of move on.
Sure.
I'm not big into reading or
You're just a sponge.
watching.
You're a sponge. You absorb the information. You don't really need to take it in any other way except just like have it around you.
Yeah, know that it's there. That's good enough for me, is to know that it's there. Did you happen to watch them?
I did, because you know me. I'm the secret sleuth here. I'm a junior science squad member myself. So I definitely watched it. I read some of the blurbs about it. They didn't really have much to report on because it's like proof is in the pudding. It's like they released the video. That's really all we need. So I did watch it. I felt very validated when I saw it, and it just made me excited, thinking that it's one step closer to making contact officially.
Yeah, it's a sigh of relief. You know, I saw that.
Yes.
Finally, finally.
When a major news network reports on things like this and actually acknowledges the existence of these things, it's just sort of like you said, a major sigh of relief. You just go, oh, like, of course, thank you. Like, my life's work has not been in vain.
Right. And the big thing is people are like, oh, well, it's just probably weather balloon. No, we know
what those look like by now.
Yeah, the next part of this is that, so they also recognize, they said, well, we can release this information because it's not our classified information. This isn't ours.
Yeah.
We don't have it. This isn't our programs. But then, all the insiders say, well, we don't have this technology. We can't do this. So if we're not doing it, developing it, but it's crazy, what is it?
And if it's not coming from the United States, where else would it be coming from?
Yeah, I don't even think they have flying machines in most other countries.
No.
I mean, I know Russia did that many years ago, but I doubt they have any sort of flying machines identified or not.
If they did, people here would be talking about that stuff more. But
right, we would know, and we would have it.
We don't talk about other countries, so it's obviously not happening.
So I think it's a way for our government to kind of tacitly endorse the fact that aliens exist.
Sure.
I think it's there, and it's like you said, the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's delicious chocolate pudding too. Let me ask you this: do you think that this is our government throwing us a bone, or do you think that this is just they're still hiding things?
Oh, they're still hiding things because we know it goes much deeper than this. But this is almost damage control. As things are bubbling up and simmering, the pot is beginning to, the lid's kind of coming off, and it's going clacka clacka. It's on the stove, and it's boiling over. So they have to release that valve,
right.
The steam release valve. And this is some of that information coming out of the valve. It's just bursting out. The government is just shoving this at us through the valve. So it's it's a way for them to say, okay, calm down, don't storm our facilities.
Sure. Because that was going to happen.
Yeah, here's a taste. Here's a little taste.
I think this is just the beginning of all sorts of new information that we're going to be finding. And I think very shortly we're just going to have more and more sightings, more official videos come out, and we're all in for it. I think this is going to be really good. I am one of those people, we know this from previous episodes, I've talked about this, that I believe that the aliens, or whoever you want to call them, I think they are here. They're going to come in peace. I can't wait to make contact, and if this is the beginning of that process, I am just so excited.
Yeah, I mean, back in a couple of years ago, the head of the secretive program, he said, "Yeah, I don't think we're alone," and his program disappeared. I believe that was Luis Elizondo. So he kind of got the argument reignited, and now, now we have some CNN right here in our faces.
Yeah. Wonderful. So excited. There is absolutely no way we are alone. And like most things, we will continue to monitor this, and we'll bring you the latest breaking news from our UFO headquarters.
And if you listeners out there have any hot tips, UFO or otherwise, I believe we have an email address and an Instagram to contact us. Is that correct? Are these secure lines of communication?
Completely 100% real and secure. It is realtruefactsmail@gmail.com. Send us all of your tips or things you want us to look into more. That's all we do. Our job is public service, like we have said, and we're going to look into everything for you. This is what we do all day, every day. It makes us so happy to do this. So if you have tips you want us to look into, UFOs or otherwise, realtruefactsmail@gmail. Instagram is at Real True Facts Graham.
Right. So, like she said, we can start our research team on it, and Willow and I will, stand back if we can. She won't. She'll get deep into the research.
I'll read. I'll read.
Yeah, and I'll know that it's there.
George sends me the articles, and I read them for him, and then I read and translate what they say.
Yeah, I say, look. Did you see that this existed?
Yes, and I read it.
Yep, and then she goes right in.
Yep, that's it.
So, we're going to take a quick break, I guess. Are we going to do that? Should we say that?
Yeah, we should take a little break. Want to take a little breaky, Boo?
Let's take a break, and we'll be right back. And we're back with Real True Facts from a short break, and we are talking about secret societies this week. And Willow is a little hesitant because, they can be scary. They are secretive, and I'm excited because I really enjoy secrets. So, we're going to talk about some different secret societies and what does it all mean? So, maybe that's a good place to start, right?
I think it is. We know their clubs and their organizations that have activities that are concealed from non-members. And so they don't want to be known. So, we should figure that out. So I think, because I'm a very jumpy person, I'm not the best expert on this by any stretch, but I know who is. So let's bring Dr. Seymour in up from our science bunker here. I already downloaded the mainframe, so we're just doing some light hacking right now. And we'll bring in Dr. Seymour. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good day, good evening.
Yeah. Welcome back.
So, Doctor, first things first, a secret society is, a club that's hiding stuff from everyone, right? Or, is that the case, or is there more to it? What are the origins of secret societies? Put on your archaeologist, anthropologist hat, and what do you think?
Yes. So modern secret societies serve all sorts of purposes, but as you said, it is about hiding a secret. And if we want to look at the origins of secret societies, sometimes people will pick different main points in history, the Renaissance, sometimes the Industrial Revolution, different things, but it goes much further back than that. So a society in general is very close to the definition of culture, but a group working together towards some means or end. And there's evidence of secret societies going all the way back to the hunter-gatherer societies that from not just hundreds, but thousands of years ago.
Wow. So we had groups or tribes or cave dwellers, and they were forming smaller groups and hiding stuff from one another. Is that kind of on the right track?
Yeah. And it seems almost silly to think that we didn't know or didn't realize this. I mean, if your survival was centered around finding the sweetest berries, the best food, the best animals to eat, to assume that smaller groups aren't going to break off and keep those secrets to themselves seems pretty silly to think that we wouldn't realize that those societies existed, like I said, thousands of years ago.
Wow. Yeah. When you frame it like that, because now we barter, we're bartering money and information and digital stuff, but they didn't have that back then. They bartered in food and survival. So, we're hiding secret information from one another, but they're hiding food from one another because that's what was most important to them. Just like money and information is most important to us now.
It makes sense that they would hoard the better resources, that if they didn't want other members of their main tribe to know that they were doing these things, so splitting off into another tribe to hoard those things, that makes a lot of sense. And I think deep down that is where I have the biggest issue, is that at its core, a secret society exists to hurt others or to conceal the best resources from other people. And it just seems really scary and dishonest to me.
Yeah, I think there are two ways to look at it. Are you are you keeping secrets to hurt others or to help yourself? How do you draw that line? Because I'm guessing we have finite resources, right? There aren't unlimited resources, so it's almost I got mine.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get mine too.
Yeah,
so then now I have made a secret society from you. So now I've split off to do my own thing because I don't agree with what you're doing.
Well, and maybe there's only one apple, right?
Yeah.
And I know where that apple is, so I'm not going to tell you because I want it for myself. I got a secret.
So, Dr. Seymour, this is anthropology at its core, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we sound silly because we're just fiddling around trying to understand anthropology.
Yeah.
Right, and the amazing thing with that is that it's not limited to anthropology, the study of humans. Society and even secret societies will extend into the animal kingdom to some of the more advanced animal groups that have a social aspect to them. It's the most obvious and most natural is to the primates, the great apes, which live in groups and once again are competing for the same resources with a limited set of them available.
So, okay, we have hunters, gatherers, apes, and stuff. Let's fast forward here and get into some of what we're aware of as maybe more traditional secret societies that are, that have evolved from that.
Because things have certainly changed since then, but maybe not. Maybe at its core, those principles are still being used today.
Yeah, I think today, I mean, even, the Illuminati and the Freemasons and some of those folks, they're saying I got mine.
Yeah, and I have to admit I am at a disadvantage because the only knowledge I have of secret societies come from the movie The Skulls.
The Skulls, I've heard of
Paul
that.
Walker and Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, I've heard that's a movie, and that's a thing.
Yeah, so, and I know that the Skulls were a real group. It was actually the Skull and Bones. I think that was from Yale. And so I think that's what the movie was about. And I think, so, I welcome my mind being changed, like when presented with new information. It is okay to change your mind. So maybe I'll end up changing my mind tonight. But, to me, these things seem violent, scary, unnecessarily sexual, violent. Preppy,
violent, sexual, and I think you mentioned the order of the Skull and Bones, and that right there is where I think for me they kind of crossed the line of going from I got mine to I got mine and a little bit of yours too.
Yeah, and I think that might be the thing that because I say I don't like these things, but then when I really think about it, I might like it if I was the one getting special treatment. And I think that's why a lot of people join these things is because they see what they can get. And, who wouldn't want to be treated in a special way? I think the closest thing I ever got to that was back in my hometown. I was friends with the Rotary Club.
The Rotary Club. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about the Rotary Club, so I assume, are there rituals involved or what?
Sort of. I'll take you on a little trip down memory road for me. I used to run the space that the Rotary Club held their meetings in. So it was all the business owners from the town. That was like a club they get together. And they said it was like a humanitarian club. They're like a service organization. So
seems like they all say that, don't they?
Right? It's all like, oh yeah, we're service, we're humanitarian. And it's all the business owners in the town. And they would get together and hold their meetings in the space that I operated. And so they honestly scared the shit out of me because the first time they had their meeting there, I saw their ritual procedure to open up their meeting, and they would start by saying the national anthem. And then immediately after the national anthem, they'd go into singing "You're a Grand Old Flag," but it was like a cappella. There was no music, so it was like liberty and justice for all. You're a grand old flag, and
That's weird.
It scared the crap out of me. Like, because when you hear the national or the Pledge of Allegiance, you stand, put your hand over your heart, like, okay, and it's sort of like a moment of like solitude and reverence. Justice for all. You kind of take a breath and you're like, ah. So I was not expecting to hear like 50 people just start belting out your grand old flag. And I almost hit the deck. It was almost like an explosion, and it was very weird. And so I got this really like weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I think that's sort of like tainted these things for me, because I just, I didn't know what they were doing. It's like if they're talking about service, but then you have this weird ritual you do in the beginning. What else are you doing that's weird?
Right. And I mean, to me, singing, it just immediately, that's a flag. That's a trigger right there. Saying,
And they all knew the song.
Yeah, why are you singing? Why do you all know the words? That's a red flag for me. If I'm ever in a group of people and they start singing and I don't know why, or really if they're just singing at all, I'm okay. What's going on here?
Yeah, a grand old red flag, more like it. That's
more like more like the grand old, right?
Yeah, get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I did. I left after that, but and they were just kind of catty anyway. So. But that may have just been their personalities. But yeah, so I mean, other than the Rotary Club, I mean, that may not be a notorious secret society like Skulls and Bones or Freemasonry or the Illuminati. I think the other one we were talking about was like the Bilderberg group.
I am fascinated by the Bilderberg group.
Tell me all about it.
Because they are one of the more modern era. They only started not too long ago in the 1900s. I think only maybe like the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're a real thing. They can be verified, and they have these conferences, and they're the world elite.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of initially you think, okay, it's the rich and powerful who are just controlling the world and they're having these meetings. But, I believe that it's not only the rich, because sometimes you can be powerful and not necessarily be rich, like our government.
Right.
But one thing that stood out about them and many others, they all seemed like boys clubs, like a bunch of dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of guys, and that's that's kind of a question for Dr. Seymour. How are we seeing gender play into this? It seems like it's still a huge part of it.
Yes, it definitely seems like a huge part. And interestingly, initially it was the exact opposite, at least in humans. I mean, in other societies, the male and female play different roles, but traditionally in the hunter-gatherers, the women were the gatherers. That's where the bigger secrets came from. But then as the gender roles evolved, as the power dynamics of the relationship changed, the social nature of humans, it flipped itself and then spiraled out of control.
I can see that. I can see the hunters and gatherers, the women in the huts, in the caves, bartering with men as resources. They can who has the best seed, who can hunt the best animal, deer, cat stuff to eat.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll give you 2 of these, Randys for one of your Joes.
Right.
While they're out like, they don't know.
Trading cards. You're just trading cards.
Resources. And they're keeping that not only a secret from other females, but from all of the males. So I can see how that it was totally the opposite of what we experience now, where it's just a bunch of old guys, trading money and information.
Yeah. I mean, as a female, I can tell you that we all, womankind, we belong to our own little secret society, and we might not trade money or anything, but we might trade like a look, like we just, you look at another one and you just kind of know, you see a fellow female across the street, you kind of give her a little like nod, like in the same way that like motorcyclists, kind of nod at each other like, yeah, brother, like, kind of give another female a nod like, okay, like I see you, I know the game. I know
Yeah,
the game.
while guys are saying, "Oh, what? I don't understand. You guys are from Mars and Venus, and we're from, some other planet." While you guys have your own secret language
Yeah.
that probably dates back to to before language.
It's not even verbal, so yeah.
And if we look to all sorts of the animal kingdom, the male tends to be the more flamboyant, the more brightly colored, the louder of the species, and the woman, the female, it tends to be the more muted, the better at hiding. So that could have all sorts of ramifications when it gets to once we translate that up to humans, where you'd wonder even, is there a network of secret societies run by women, but they're just that much more secret than the societies that we are aware of run by men?
Maybe there is. Who am I to say?
That's a really good point, and I'm curious. I want to maybe delve into one of these particular secret societies, and maybe go a little bit deeper, so we can almost have a case study.
Sure.
And I think we should take a look at that right after a quick break.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real True Facts. We are talking about secret societies today, and I think now we would really like to get into a little bit more depth about one of the secret societies we've kind of glanced at. We just spoke about what a secret society is. We looked at it from an anthropology standpoint with Dr. Seymour, who's still with us. We're going to talk to him more during this segment, but we want to go a little bit deeper into what it means to be in a secret society and some of the traditions surrounding the Freemasons. I think that would be a really great society to delve deeper into. It's one everyone knows about, but maybe we don't really know as much as we think we do. But we have done the research for you. We have the facts, the real true facts. And so let's get into the Freemasons. What's that all about?
So, Willow, I know you did a lot of the book learning and things like that. The one kind of, you could call it research, but listening to people, that's what I got some really interesting insights about Freemasonry. First of all, it can be called Freemasonry.
Freemasonry.
And it dates back all the way back to ancient Egypt, right? And that's where, we see all those symbols of the pyramids, the dollar bill, and everyone knows pyramids, Freemasons.
Yes.
But what they don't know is that, Freemasons existed all the way back then.
Yes, they did. I think my favorite thing about them just comes from the literal definition of their name, Freemasonry. I think, when we're talking about Dr. Seymour, who's talking about resource hoarding between the different species and hunter-gatherers, it costs a lot of money to build a pyramid or to build a structure, whatever it is you're going to do. There were some special people that got those materials for free. They didn't have to pay for that. And so masonry, that's bricks. So they were actually able to get free bricks to be able to build their structures. And so they saved a ton of money. And so they didn't want anybody else to know that.
Yeah, I think that's what's. We actually did an episode on the secrets of Egypt, and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Here's the secret. How much should that cost? Like 100 million cats and rupees and stuff. But Freemasonry, it costs nothing.
It costs nothing. And as we know from talking to Dr. Lauren J., the architect had something to prove. And so I think he may have been able to seek out other means of getting these things built. And so he's not going to do it the way everybody else is going to do it. They're going to do it in a special way, in a secretive way. They don't want those plans getting out. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that may have been when the Freemasons started, was back in that time.
Yeah, that's really when they kind of congealed and became an official thing.
Yeah.
Everything before that was kind of like, hey, I'll do this structure for free. Hey, I have some super secrets. Hey, I work with aliens and stuff like
And then they're
that.
like, "Oh, this looks really good. Hey, don't tell anybody. Don't tell
Right.
anybody." Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like you said, a nod, a look, a handshake.
Mhm.
And then around this time, they had these huge structures. They had power structures, physical structures, but also, people in place to say, hey, let's actually get this going. Let's start this.
Yeah.
And, and we know how well that turned out. I mean, the pyramids are still standing today.
Yeah. So it's just a testament to how good the architecture actually was. So that is the background. More on the Freemasons. I actually have a connection to the Freemasons. My grandfather was I don't know if you can ever stop being a Freemason. He hasn't been to meetings in 30 years, but he actually belonged to the Freemasons, and I saw his handbook once.
Right. You can't, it's not something you can just stop being, similar to people in the military kind of say the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so you saw his handbook. I've not seen a handbook in real life. I've heard about it and people talked about it and, some of the different magic in there and people like, well, magic, that's fake.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought too. And it's not, the kind of magic that we, it's not like Harry Potter.
No. Because they say the Freemasons are not religious, they're not magical, but of course that's what you would say if that's what you were doing. Like, oh, we're not this, but then that's what they're doing. It's like you can't have a secret society and then trust anything that is being said to a regular person about it.
Right, exactly.
That's how they maintain a public presence, but hide their activities. If they're hiding in plain sight and people know they're there and they say, oh, this is what we do, it's like, okay, half the people are going to say, okay, well, if that's what they're doing, then that's what they said. But I did see the handbook. It's actually a really teeny tiny book. It's almost like a little pocket notebook, and very, very small font, very small writing with like very narrow columns of all the rules and all of the little procedures that you have to follow to be in that group.
So was there one particular thing that stood out or that you actually kind of were able to read or take a look at that more than at a glance? Was there anything that stood out?
I had to use a magnifying glass to read it because I don't know if that's the official size or if it's just like a pocket version of the Freemason handbook. But the things that stand out to me the most are just some of the rules that they have, or commandments. I don't know if you call them that, but just sort of the rules. Obviously, no women. That was a huge one because women can't be Freemasons. I think there are some female chapters of it now, but the original Masons, there's no women. You can't, if you go somewhere, you have to wear the insignia on your person somewhere at all times. So like if you're wearing a jacket, you have to wear your little lapel pin, but like on the inside of your lapel, so you can just like lift it up really like casually to show somebody, or like as cufflinks, you kind of just like hold it up a little bit. Like the insignia has to be on you at all times.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like your license plate cover.
Yeah, like a license plate. If you're a Freemason and you get caught without your credentials or your little, it's like a gold pin. It's like a tiny little gold pin. If you're caught without that, your membership could be revoked. And there are serious consequences. It just said serious consequences, like all caps, underlined, italicized. So, I was just afraid to read more. What else? You have to have your pin on you at all times. Obviously, pay your dues. Like any good club, you got to pay your dues.
Yeah, I've read or heard that they're like tithings. So people, that's how they have so much power. People who rise to power and are very wealthy, they give a percentage of their wealth to the Freemasons. And what a lot of people don't realize are that the Shriners.
Yeah.
With the hospitals and the circuses and all that stuff, they're entirely self-funded and through the Freemasons.
Yeah, it's a lot of pancake breakfasts. That's the way that they're able to hide, is that they provide this service to the community, or they feed people, and then while people are eating, then they're able to like conduct their meetings. Like there's a lot of note passing. There's like you have your tithings, but it's not regular money. It's like gold coins. So like how during like Christmas or something you get like chocolate gold coins.
Mm-hmm.
That's based off of the money that the Freemasons have. And
Right.
so,
What are the ducats, right?
yeah,
Ducats and
yeah,
cougarans.
yeah, yeah. And so that's based off their money. So it's just sort of like, it's almost like the Mad magazine of like Freemason money. It's a very cheeky way that people like know that they're there. So like if you're on the inside, you know what a chocolate coin actually means. But
Right. And as it turns out, if that were real gold, it would be worth, about $10,000, a chunk of
yeah,
gold.
and I don't know what the rate is, but I know that Freemason money never loses value. It actually increases in value as the years go on. So if you are lucky enough to get one of like the real Freemason coinage, you're actually getting richer and richer as the days go by. It
Right,
doesn't
because it's
depreciate.
correct. It's made out of gold, but and that's why, as we know, Richard Nixon took us off of the gold standard. Everything, all the American money used to be backed by real gold being held.
Yeah, there is a thought that gold was actually mined on the moon during the Apollo missions.
Right. And, as we know, that they didn't quite have enough time to get all of it.
Yeah.
So, but it was enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
Enough to make a big difference. So, Richard Nixon, who was not a Freemason, he was a bit jealous. So, he was. It was a kind of a personal vendetta to take the whole entire country off the gold standard, because he was tired of these Freemasons just getting, more and more wealthy from their special currency.
Yeah, I think most Freemasons were Kennedy supporters.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Because, Freemasons. Now, that's one thing I could not really find out, is why they just really seem to support better looking candidates.
Yeah.
It was an odd thing where hey, he's better looking. And they didn't necessarily say, oh, we like his policies. We like what he has to say, what he has to do, what he represents. It was like, that Richard Nixon guy has a terrible 5 o'clock shadow.
Well, I think they have a strict like no uggo rule. So
now, when you say no uggo, I'm not as hip on the lingo. Uggo means
like
what?
Ugly people.
Ugly people.
Yeah,
so
it's like
that's almost
only hot people can be Freemasons. I think like there's like a spectrum. It's like hot or not. That phrase like, are you hot or are you not? Are you a hero or a zero? Like that's all Freemason lingo that we've adopted.
Right. So I imagine them bringing up on the projectors, like you see, oh, do we want this one or not?
Yeah.
And I think that's almost gets back to the whole anthropology aspect of better looking people, part of the secret societies. Are they being recruited? Why? What does that have to do with anything? Can we ask Dr. Seymour what's the deal with good looking people being actively sought after for secret societies? Is that a real question?
It's a wonderful question. There's a couple different biological, or it's really evolutionary biology here, where we think that all humans are on equal footing in terms of some things, or we're told that that's not true. There are advantages that some have over others, and looks, we pretend that looks are just that, just looks. No, they are much more than skin deep.
I knew it.
Yep. It leads to a lot of other advantages in terms of lifespan, in terms of health, in terms of other things. And for a secret society, the natural reason to look or to seek out beauty is that it's much easier to trust a pleasant-looking, positive, beautiful face.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I trust better looking people. I mean, I guess so as it turns out, they are more trustworthy, and they have biological advantages other than just being more attractive on the outside.
And it's kind of something, like that's passed from one generation to the next. They are not necessarily more trustworthy, but they have been more trusted. And as that passes from one generation to another, they get better and better at holding those secrets in. Just like if you could breed a certain animal, a dog maybe, for its trait or its ability to sniff something out, you can breed a human for its ability to hold something in.
Wow. So trust is evolutionary, and secret societies are helping kind of breed create this breed of human that is beautiful and gradually getting better at holding trust.
Yeah. I mean, take a look at Paul Walker and Joshua Jackson, stars of the movie The Skulls. They were preppy, blonde, wealthy. I mean, these are just things that we notice in actors, but these are the things that we know are happening in these societies, and that these people were sought out to be in these societies based on those things.
Right, and that's a little known fact that Paul Walker is actually, rest in peace, was a Freemason, because he was so good looking. And I mean, you look at the guy who thinks, I don't trust him. I've never met anyone who's ever said that. I've never met a person who says, I don't trust Paul Walker.
Yeah, not
never,
once.
Never.
No.
I mean, no, never.
Joshua Jackson, I believe he was in the actual Order of Skull and Bones, and so he really wanted to do this movie to really pay tribute to the group that brought him.
John Travolta in Scientology, which, while it's called a religion, I think it's pretty much as close to a secret society as you can get.
Yeah.
Which you brought up earlier, religion and these secret societies. They say it's not really based on religion, but as it turns out, it is. And what I think one of the most interesting things about Freemasons, they always talk about worshiping a higher power. From some of these folks I've talked to throughout the years, and a higher power. And one time, he was an older gentleman, and you could tell he was just having fun. He was having fun in his life, and he wasn't interested in holding back anymore.
Yeah.
And he mentioned higher power. He hinted at not only higher power celestial or religiously, but also celestially, like higher power as in other beings.
Sure.
And I was like, at first, okay, other beings from other worlds, that's a little ridiculous. You would worship those or pay tribute to those. And I thought it was silly until I remembered the pyramids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we have definite proof of there being an alien influence during the construction of the pyramids.
Right. So
we know that higher power exists.
Right. And I think it's true. I don't know. There isn't any other reasonable explanation. The Freemasons do, pay tribute to and worship aliens. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the general public I don't think they may realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I have asked my grandfather so many questions about the Freemasons, and he always sort of brushes me off a little bit, or he kind of gets this faraway look in his eye, and he'll just kind of sigh a little bit, and then he'll kind of come to and shake his head and
say very wistful.
He'll shake his head and just be like, come on, let's go to the kitchen and get a snack. It's like, well, there's something there that he's not telling me. And so when I found the handbook, I only had a few minutes with it. I was, looking through a dresser drawers, and they were calling my name from the other room, and I'm like, oh, just a second, and I was wrestling through, kind of flipping through it. It's like the things I saw in that handbook were so interesting. Just a few rules, but there were also maps. There were things that looked like schematics.
Now, when you say maps, were they, Earth, like earthly maps, or are we talking maps of stars, or what kind of maps do you think?
They were definitely on the ground. It looked like
interesting.
Looked like one of those, like when they do the maps, like terrain, and they have the different elevations of the mountains. So you can see there was mountainous ranges and little dash lines and little X's everywhere. Maybe a code. It could have been hieroglyphics. I'm not sure. It looked like it was a little bit smeared, maybe had gotten wet with water or tears or who knows, maps, blueprints, codes. I mean, there were a lot of different things in that handbook, and I was in the room and I had the door locked and they were, jiggling the handle. I was like, come on, we gotta go. And, you see the handle shake and 1 second. And then you put it back and you hide it underneath some socks and shut the drawer. And then you look up over the dresser drawer and you see your reflection in the mirror, and you just, the look on your eyes when you make eye contact with yourself and you think, God, what have I just seen? And then you gotta go. Then you gotta brush it off like you've never seen anything, and then go out and go about your day and say, oh, I was just brushing my hair. So.
Yes, indeed. And I think it all falls into place when you talk about seeing all these interesting things in the book, and then, trustworthiness and famous Freemasons throughout history, all the huge impact that they've made, and the quote unquote discoveries. Maybe they were discoveries for humans. Maybe they were discoveries for humans, but not, aliens, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I know some of the more famous members. I mean, it was definitely Kennedy.
Yeah, Sir Isaac Newton. I mean, gravity. Hello.
Mm-hmm. And I know all the astronauts from the Saturn program. They were all Freemasons.
Yeah, at least Saturn.
Yeah.
King Edward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at people that have died in mysterious circumstances. We'll stick with the 60s. I mean, Rebel Without a Cause.
James Dean was a Freemason.
Dean was a Freemason. Marilyn Monroe was a Freemason.
Yeah. Who and a good
Mama Cass. Freemason
test is, have you ever heard anyone say, I don't trust Marilyn Monroe, I would not trust James Dean? No, they're good looking. Yeah. You trust them, and you know what? They made a difference.
They did. I'd like to ask Dr. Seymour, because this is sort of a question that arose when I was looking through all of the Freemason materials. There's such a fine line here, but what is the difference between a secret society and a cult?
It's almost a beauty is in the eye of the beholder situation in many cases. The cult is seen from outsiders as exclusively negative, whereas outsiders can still sometimes ascertain some positive value out of a secret society. Another main difference is the leadership. How many leaders are there? A secret society is still a society, and that means that even as you go up the ladder, up the pyramid, probably more appropriate here, we don't get to a single point, whereas cults traditionally do have a single figurehead, and that's where things can get a little bit more into the, let's say, the decisions made by the one person can negatively benefit, can be viewed to benefit that person so much more higher than the group, where a cult, even if not intentionally harmful, does not have that same positive view towards all members.
I think, for me, I think it does come to that the point of view. How many people have you ever heard say, "I'm in a cult"? It's always someone else. That person's in a cult. Mm-hmm. You are in a cult. They are in a cult. It's never "I'm in a cult."
Right. And those people could just be jealous, like, "Oh, they're in a cult." It's like, well, you're jealous they didn't ask you to join.
Right. And it's, and so that person would say, well, no, I'm not in a cult. I'm in a secret society. And I really do think it comes from the point of view. I heard a very interesting speech one time. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I kind of walked in and walked out, but he was I don't know what it's called when you're an expert in religion, but he was one of those.
Like a theologist?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it was. He was a theologist. So, and he said that he thinks that the term cult should not exist, that it's not a fair term to use in any regard, because it's simply a derogatory term for a religion or a secret society that people don't like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you have people that are doing their own thing, and then you have the haters.
Right. The people who don't have theirs.
Yeah. So then they got to get theirs and they make their own. So I'll ask this of both of you. Do you think that we are all, in our own way, in some kind of secret society, whether we know it or not?
Oh, Dr. Seymour, do you have an answer for that, or do you want me to go first?
I would say, I want to, the scientist in me never wants to say no. You can't disprove something. You can't prove it either. You can't do anything. Science can't do anything, honestly. Prove, disprove, partway prove, partway disprove. But no, we're not. There are people who have, either by their own choices, by their physical appearance, by their other physical or mental traits, excluded themselves from any hope of social interactions. So they are not in a secret society.
Mm-hmm. It's like you can be in a club and just not tell anybody about it. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're in a secret society if you just don't talk about the club you're in.
Right.
I think, yeah, it almost goes back to the eye of the beholder. If you ask me, am I in a secret society? I say, oh, of course. Yes, sure. But the quote unquote science may say, no, he's not.
Wait, are you in a secret society?
It depends on whether you're asking me or science is asking me. I think that's the distinction when it comes to secret societies. Are you asking me or is science asking me?
I am asking you.
Well, maybe. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way. I better say maybe. Mm-hmm. Because, if I say yes, then you're going to say which one? Yeah. And I'm going to say, I don't know. And then you're going to say, how could you know? How could you not know which secret society you're not part of? And say, oh, I'm just confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could easily see that happening. Huh. So, but if we look at it from a science point of view, you're not.
Sure.
We'll just go with that.
Right. Yep. That is correct. And science is a very good, as Dr. Seymour said, it's a good, it can't really prove anything, but it's a good indicator, and kind of maybe point us in the right direction. That's why I think, I don't want to speak for Dr. Seymour, but I would guess that's why he has so many different degrees. And, because not one of them is really the truth or the one way to go. Is that correct?
Yes. The more you study, the more you open yourself up to these things, the more you know that you need to learn more and find not your way, but find the ways. And all roads point to Rome, but really kind of the opposite. If we are in Rome, the roads point everywhere, and to take just one seems ill-advised.
Right. It depends on where you are.
So, George, what's your favorite thing about being in a secret society?
I really...
Gotcha.
I almost said that I really like the breakfast rolls, because they're like, it's almost like they're cinnamon, but I can't tell because you don't see the brown swirly part that is a visual indicator of cinnamon. But it's like, I feel like I taste that. I'm just not quite sure. But no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is what I meant to say. Yeah, I don't know. I think at this point we might need a quick break before we go to listener mail.
Yes, let's do it. We'll take a quick break. We will be right back. We're back from a little break on Real True Facts. We're going to go ahead and close up Dr. Seymour's bunker portcullis here. We'll say thank you to him. Dr. Seymour, anything you'd like to add about secret societies today?
No, I think we did a great job of defining and sharing what can be known about such a secretive and interesting topic.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Dr. Seymour. We will see more of you next time.
Thank you.
So let's go into some listener questions.
So yeah, I'm really curious. We had some good responses. We've had some good responses from some of our previous episodes, and I think. So what do we have this week?
So we have received really, really good responses based off of our last episode about the Mothman. Everyone is sort of like on bated breath. They want to see if John Patrick ever finds his dad, which we'll continue to monitor. But we've got some questions based on the Mothman episode. And I kind of threw this net out there just to engage our listeners a little bit. I asked them if they could ask the Mothman a question, what would it be? We had a response that's asked, what was the Mothman like as a baby? We don't know, but it could have been super cute. I must imagine like a humanoid moth.
Yeah, or a pupa, right?
Right. Yeah, they go
pupa.
through metamorphosis.
Yeah, a cute pupa.
Could be super cute. I mean, so we're answering on behalf of the Mothman, obviously, but and then we had another one that just asked, "Do you like nature?"
Wow.
I'm gonna say yes because he's outside a lot of the time.
Oh, the question is, does the
Mothman like nature?
Yeah, I think it's a resounding yes, because he has to spend a lot of time outside, but it almost seems like he's a protector of nature, kind of a protector of things, because at first we were thinking maybe he's the harbinger of doom. I do like saying that.
Harbinger of doom.
Yeah, but as it turns out, maybe he's doing more protection than doom bringing.
Yeah, there's so much that we don't understand, which is why we continue to do our research and bring you the latest and greatest on all of these topics. So since we had a really wonderful response to the Mothman, it kind of struck me that everyone kind of likes the spooky stuff. So why don't we next week delve more into the spooky stuff, and let's talk about something that everybody finds terrifying. And I think you know what I mean.
Right. Let's say on the count of three.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Poltergeist. What?
Bigfoot. Yeah, poltergeist. Definitely. Yeah, they are indeed spooky and scary.
They are, just like all the other stuff that you mentioned. So next week we're going to talk about poltergeist. And we would not be able to do that without ghost stories. So if you, dear listeners, have any ghost stories of your own, if you've had any encounters with a poltergeist or the paranormal here, anything you can't explain, that your books fly off the shelf, or there's like lightning in your kitchen or something, hand reaches out from the TV to grab you, anything like that, you are more than welcome, and we encourage you to share it to us using our email, realtruefactsmail@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram. That is at realtruefactsgram. Send us any of your stories, any obviously photos that you have. If you have any proof of your encounters, we'll post that on our Instagram site or page, I guess. And more people can take a look at that. We'll use that in our episode as well.
Yeah, I'd like to, maybe we can put some of our resources on some of these photos and validate them for you, because I know that's a difficult task.
It is. We'll figure out if they're real or not. I mean, stuff usually is. So please message us. And if you don't have any ghost stories, if you have any feedback, any questions at all, let us know. Any questions you ask have a chance to be featured on an episode of our show. And if we like it enough, we'll do a show about it. You've seen that firsthand. So another thing you can do is to tell your friends. If you enjoy our show, if you love what you hear, spread the word. If you have people that need to learn the truth, tell them this is where you can do it. Real True Facts. You can listen to the show just about anywhere. And that is something that we appreciate greatly. So please keep listening to us.
Yeah, and feel free to drop a review on iTunes podcasts.
I think that just about wraps it up. So join us next week. We will talk about poltergeist or poltergeists.
Poltergeists.
We'll figure out what the plural of poltergeist is. We'll talk about that next week. We'll get really spooky again for y'all. And that will be it for us today. So thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of Real True Facts. We can't do it without you. And dear listeners, keep questioning your world, because just because you hear about it or read it doesn't mean it's true. We will see you next time.